All right, welcome in everyone. Let's jump right into it today.
Yeah, let's go.
We're diving deep into something happening right now in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Specifically the Niger Delta region. There's a lot of talk about possible insurgency popping up again,
Right.
and we're going to break down this article. Amid widespread outrage, renewed separatist insurgency looms as Tinubu scraps and Delta ministry.
Wow, that title.
That's a
It grabs you.
that's a mouthful, right?
It is.
But I think this was really interesting, and I think it really touches on some global issues like resource control, keeping things stable politically, and how tough it can be to govern when you have so many different people and interests.
Yeah, and you know what? This isn't just some far-off story. This has the potential to have ripple effects. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
right, absolutely. So let's give everybody the rundown. President Tinubu of Nigeria just made a pretty big decision. He got rid of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs.
Oh, wow.
And like our article tells us, folks are not happy about it.
Widespread outrage is putting it lightly. I mean, to really grasp why this is such a huge deal, you got to understand that the Niger Delta, it's where all the oil is, right?
Got you.
Huge for Nigeria's economy. But here's the thing. For decades, the people living there, they've been dealing with the bad stuff that comes with oil. The environmental damage, the poverty. But they don't see the benefits, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like they're fueling the entire country,
Exactly.
but not reaping the rewards.
Yeah.
I remember reading about some villages there that still don't have basic stuff like clean water or reliable electricity.
It's a classic case of marginalization. They feel left behind while everyone else profits from their land. And that's why you have these separatist groups popping up.
Okay, you keep mentioning these separatist groups.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about them? Who are they exactly, and what are they fighting for?
Sure. You've got a bunch of different groups within the Niger Delta, each with their own, specific goals. But the common thread is they believe the region should be independent, separate from Nigeria. Their argument is that they can manage their resources better on their own
Right.
and make sure the wealth actually benefits the people who live there.
Okay.
One group that's been around forever, they're pretty well known, is MEND, the Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta.
Okay. Men.
MEND. They've been around for decades, and they've got a history of, let's just say, not so peaceful tactics.
Yeah.
Attacking oil pipelines, even kidnapping foreign oil workers.
So not exactly a nonviolent movement then.
No, not exactly. And that's what makes this decision to just scrap the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs so risky. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was at least some way for the Delta to talk to the government, to air out their grievances, getting rid of it. A lot of folks see that as Tinubu just ignoring them. And that could easily push people toward those more radical separatist groups.
But the government has given some reasons for why they did this, right? They're saying it's all about efficiency.
Right. They're claiming the ministry was too big, too much overlap, not efficient. They say dissolving it will save money and streamline things.
Yeah.
And to be fair, some people have criticized how effective the ministry actually was. There's been talk of corruption, money meant for development projects ending up in the wrong hands.
So it's not as black and white as it seems.
Exactly. It's complicated.
Yeah.
And this all ties into a much bigger picture, a global one, really. The Niger Delta. It's like a textbook example of the problems faced by countries that have lots of resources but are super complex politically. How do you divide up the wealth from those resources fairly? How do you make sure all the different regions, all the different groups of people feel like they have a voice, like they're included in the political process? These are questions a lot of nations are struggling with.
Yeah, and I'm curious, because the article doesn't really get into potential solutions or compromises.
Right.
Were there other options? Could the government have done something else to address the concerns in the Niger Delta? Or could they still?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Some experts say, look, instead of getting rid of the ministry entirely, maybe they could have restructured it, get rid of the corruption, give it more power to actually make those development projects happen.
Okay.
Others say maybe give more control to the regional authorities.
Yeah.
Let them manage the resources and decide how to share the revenue. And there's always the option of involving local communities more in the decisions that affect them directly.
Right. So more of a bottom-up approach.
Exactly. So scrapping the ministry might not be the end of the story. There could be other ways forward.
But was getting rid of the ministry the right call right now? I mean, it seems like it could make an already tense situation even worse.
Well, that's what everyone's worried about. The possibility of more violence in the Niger Delta is very real. If these separatist groups start attacking again, it could disrupt oil production, hurt Nigeria's economy, even spill over into neighboring countries.
So the stakes are pretty high then.
Absolutely. This isn't just about one ministry in one country.
Right.
It's about how resources are controlled, how development is done, and how stable things are politically in a region that's super important for the global energy market.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. We've gone over a ton today. But I think this has really helped us understand what's going on in the Niger Delta
Yeah,
and why it matters. Not just for Nigeria, but for the rest of the world, too.
couldn't have said it better myself. And it makes you wonder, in a world where resources are getting scarcer and things are getting more unstable politically, how do we build systems that are fair and benefit everybody, not just a few?
That's a great question to ponder. Really makes you think.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here today, and keep your eyes on the Niger Delta because this story's not over yet.
You got it.
And for everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to our deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.